Hello viewers, welcome to our program on immigration and you. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us my law partner David Nachman. David, welcome.
Thanks so much, Michael. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Very interesting program today, and I want to talk about a very interesting article in New York Times, which was written by Senator, not presently, the past Senator Alan Simpson, who actually, if you recall, 1986, he had sponsored the amnesty bill. And as a matter of fact, I had interviewed on this IT Vision Avisha program Senator Simpson in 86. And then when they were passing this amnesty law. So he had a position, and then Mazzoli had a different position, and how this worked out and what they are saying now about this, both of them. Not both of them, Simpson and then Morrison. But Bruce Morrison is a former, again, representative from Connecticut. And he was very active in the 86 law as well. So the name of the article is A Way Out on Immigration Reform. And they say it's a goal further away of fixing the broken immigration system than ever. And what they are saying, the President Obama's administrative executive orders, in which 5 out of the 11 or 12 illegal aliens will be in benefit under the DACA and DOPA programs, have been challenged in the court, as we know already. So they are talking, what they are doing in the article, talking about the problems, and they are giving a suggestion how we can accomplish this objective, which is very nice, coming from two very senior politicians and ex-senators. And we, at the end of this, I probably, David will support as well. Okay, so they are saying neither side is ready. We have created the problem together, and we have to solve the problem together. They suggest one way to start is to mandate the E-Verify for all the employers who will be required to submit the workers' information over the internet, and that information is going to be checked or transmitted to Social Security Administration as well the Department of Homeland Security. Because what they want to do, match before hiring anybody, they want the workers' information, send it to SSA, Homeland Security, to see whether maybe a lot of fraudulent documents submitted, where those documents show that this is the correct one or these are fraudulent documents. So this way, if they mandate, the difference between mandating and what it is today, David, as you know, some of the states are doing that and some of the states are not doing it. And it's still until the whole problem is this. Republicans say that you fix the borders first, you implement these sanctions first, then we'll talk about legalization. And the Democrats say, but how can you do that? I mean, these people are illegal, you implement them and then throw away all the millions. That is not going to work. What is going to work? You have both things done together so that you can, like, same thing happened. Same thing happened in Simpson-Mazzoli Bill in 1986. That's why Senator Simpson and they are saying that probably the right thing to do. To do both things together collectively so that on one hand employers can be punished for hiring illegal aliens and follow the E-Verify mandated system. At the same time, the illegal aliens should also be legalized so that they who are already here and who are continuing, they can remain in the US and continue it. That's the way it's going to work. So without going further, a simple thing they are saying that in the end that both sides have a point. But we know from experience that the key to the legislation is not a solution for every problem in advance. But at least let's get the ball rolling. That's it.
Right.
Let's get the ball rolling. And both of them agree, and both of them are strongly saying that this is the way both Republicans and Democrats should compromise and proceed further. And David and me both support that idea to have a program like that where both things can be done together. And this way, if they all agree, I wish really Senator Simpson and Congressman Morrison were here in the present time as a senator, and they would probably, they are very influential, both of them in their parties, and they could have helped in getting this done.
Right. It's interesting. It's like deja vu all over again because the 1986 Act, Immigration Reform and Control Act, part of it was a full-blown amnesty, and the other part of it had to do with making the employers the watchdog to ensure that the individuals were not unauthorized to work. So essentially, that's where the I-9 form comes out of. And now we're talking about the same thing, 30 years later. The only difference is now we're talking about an I-9 process that's on steroids or using the internet as opposed to doing something manually. So it's very interesting.
The critics of the 1986 law say that the legalization program was fully implemented. Millions of people got, about 4 or 5 million at that time, the legalization. But the sanctions program did not work because there were no teeth in that law for the sanctions. So people ignored it, and then that's why we again have another 11 or 12 million people now illegal aliens. But now it was old times. Now the technology has developed so much. Like the E-Verify system wasn't there at that time.
Exactly.
So E-Verify is there. There are a lot of technological advances, a lot of things they can put a teeth in the law so that sanction can equally be.
But not only that, we also have companies that have been severely sanctioned to the tune of some 6 million, 13 million, some very, very high fines that have been brought against them. So there is a chilling effect that's going on. So it's not without teeth now. I think that's what you're saying, Michael.
That's correct. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, that forget about this administrative, this thing and that thing and the court cases and fighting and doing and this. This is never going to work until both Democrats and Republicans work it out, a plan. They're both happy. The Republicans are happy that there will be a foolproof system, strong, to press the employers. Because what is it, the magnet is there. Why are people coming here illegally? Why? Because their jobs are available.
Right.
They work under the table. Still, they come in. But if you put this strong sanction, that employer, you want to hire this person illegally, there will be serious penalties.
Exactly.
So that will probably take care of this problem of that kind of number of illegal aliens entering the US to do what? They cannot get a job here.
Exactly.
So this, and then that is probably the right way to do it. Now questions, God again knows. I'm not saying, nobody can say that will 100% seal the borders. Something will always happen. But I would say even if they curtail down 70-80% of illegal immigrants, few will come all the time. You know that.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about legal immigration just real quick. I'd like to just switch gears to the fact that we're kind of like at the end of our rope with H-1Bs. The H-1B season is just about at an end. April 1st is the filing deadline, as many of you know, for the CAP cases for H-1Bs. These will be requesting October 1st start dates. It's kind of very late in the process. If you haven't initiated your H-1B, do it immediately. Now, not just to initiate it, if it can't go in time, of course, now's the time also to start thinking about H-1B alternatives, like, not for India, but you have E's, you have L's, you have O's, there are all sorts of other work visas that you need to think about. So this is a good time to start, and also possibly STEM extension. If you haven't already done it, and actually that feeds very well into what Michael was talking about, E-Verify. Remember that employers cannot give you STEM extensions unless they're in the E-Verify program. So that was one of the things that the government used to move employers into the E-Verify program, is to give those STEM extensions to the students, which is another 17 months. So they get a full 29 months of work authorization. So if you haven't started your H-1B process, really a good time to start thinking about it, because April 1st and a couple of days thereafter is going to be the deadline when we can submit those for you. I also wanted to let everyone know that in early April, I'm going to be traveling to India. I'm going to be visiting Gujarat and doing speaking engagements in Surat, in Baroda, and in Ahmedabad. We will give you more details about that, but if you're interested in setting up a meeting with me, it's going to be from April 7th to April 15th. If you're interested in meeting with me at that time, please feel free to send us an email at info@visaserve.com. I believe that that's an email address on your screen. I'll be happy to meet with either you or your family members and try to give you some clarity to any types of programs that you're thinking about setting up or strategies for your families.
One other thing I want to mention is that you had said earlier, people come with some particular problem. There's the DACA, there's the DAPA, or they have some problem.
On the last program that we were talking about, right? Yeah.
So, and I have seen quite often that program is there, that problem is there, and what we can do or we cannot do on that problem. Sometimes there is previous deportation or something that is difficult to accomplish. But after listening to the client, after getting all the facts and information, we find some other solutions. I say, why don't you consider this or that?
Exactly.
So
Right.
it's not just like, as you said earlier in the last program, that people think that put this on hold.
Right,
this law is not gonna
I
pass.
feel badly for the
Yeah.
people who think there's a restraining order and they're reading in the media that it's not going to happen.
Right.
Because this has been tremendously valuable to professionals like Michael and I, because we're able to give alternatives to people who never knew that they had alternatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to tell you about the consultation.
Please,
Yesterday,
yeah, please.
The guy came in, his labor certification was approved long time. It was approved. I-140 was denied. He had been appealing and all that, and a few years ago it was denied. And in the course of talking, he says, I said, with the employer there is still, he said, no, employer closed down, he's no longer there. So I said, then even if they further come back and say, give us the tax returns and information, the employer is closed. Why you are wasting time on this? There's nothing going to happen. They said, I went to so many lawyers, paid so much
Right.
money. Nobody told me the way that you have told us. I said, let's talk about other options. So we went through the whole
Right.
history, and I gave them a DAPA option. I said, this is the best option now for you, because he had a deportation order also. I mean, so
Okay,
many issues.
right.
So I said, DAPA is fine to start with. If the DAPA, this restraining order is removed, you can get a DAPA because he got 2 US citizen children, wife is a US citizen.
Right.
So this is what we do. As good lawyers and experienced lawyers, we go beyond what, because a lot of other lawyers and people will just ask that question. Oh, DAPA, say no, don't wait, nothing to do about that, and they don't go, or a deportation, your deportation, that's it. They don't
Right.
look at the overall picture to see where my client can get a help. What
Right.
else can we do for our client?
Right, exactly. And I think that also feeds into the fact that, I receive easily 10 to 15 emails a day from people who are just asking me questions. And the problem is I always go back with, I have more questions for you. And usually the question when it comes to us is, what is the cost and what can I do? But the problem is that that's not a holistic view of the problem. That's in other words, that the person who's sending me that is just saying, I want to know what to do and I want to know the cost and I want to know how long it's going to take to do it. But the problem is that they're not taking into account the fact that we are thinking potentially of several different options, which might be overlapping options and things that can be pursued at the same time. So by looking at things in a vacuum, you're not really doing yourself a justice with regard to your particular immigration problem. You have to really look at it holistically. You have to take into account that there are circumstances that affect you, that affect your lives, that affect your families, that are different also from situations which affect your friends. Because oftentimes people come to me and they say, well, my friend said this, my friend said that. Your case is not your friend's case. Your case is a little different. Your case is your case. And again, there are circumstances and facts that impinge on that case that are much different than everyone else's.
A quick thing, as we have about a few minutes, a minute or two left in the program.
Sure.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the H4 EADs?
Oh, thank you for, yes, thank you, Michael.
And some people
That's
want
great.
to know
Thank
what kind
you.
of document we should keep ready for that.
Yeah, we're telling them such great information that we forget about
Yes.
some of the most important stuff
Yes.
that's going on. With regard to H4s, Michael, thank you for reminding me, the regulation is out, and it appears that on May 26th that H4s will be able to get work authorization. Now, the situation is that in order to apply for work authorization card on May 26th, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to show that the H-1B, your significant other, that you're a dependent of, will have to be
Husband or
in.
wife.
Husband, right,
Not
spouse, your
significant,
spouse,
yeah.
right, your spouse. Well, the spouse is a significant other also, but your spouse will have to have been into that 7th year H-1B under AC-21 or have an approved I-140 seeking the additional 3 years of H-1B status under AC-21. So the idea here is that the person is on the road to the green card, and then that allows the dependent to be able to take advantage of the work authorization. So it's estimated that that's going to be initially, a tremendous number of applications are going to be made for that work authorization, but those will taper off probably to about 65,000 H-4 work authorization cards per year. Our big concern, of course, is how many all of a sudden are we going to have to do, EADs, and does that slow the EAD process down? So one of the things that you all may want to consider when you're thinking about renewing your employment authorization document is do it more than you know,
Get
180
get
days
ready with
in
all your
advance.
papers and
Yeah,
start
it's
it
gonna
as soon as possible.
exactly, because it's going to be a long wait time. Yeah.
Well, David, once again, we are running out of time. Thank you very, very much. And thank all of the viewers for watching our program.
Thanks for
A
having me,
suggestion
Michael.
also is that this is a very interesting, very important program, and many people are not able to watch because of their work timings. I'm sure you have a DVR at home. Every Saturday and Sunday, when we come on the TV, you can put on a DVR, then you can watch that program anytime that you want. And with that suggestion, thank you very much and goodbye.